The next one is Keyan's top post.
It's not my top post, but you picked it. These are meta. We're just going to go over some meta.
The math behind Stacker.News Web of Trust. Did you see this, EK?
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, you saw it.
He said, oh, yes, I did see it.
What did you think? Did you have thoughts on this?
Did you have thoughts on it? EK?
Did EK have thoughts on it?
Oh, there he goes. He did have thoughts on it.
My thoughts are that Keyan literally explained to me the same stuff an hour before. And so kind of like a big coincidence that he then, like that is like verified that, you know what I mean?
Verified your understanding,
yes.
Validated your understanding.
Yeah, kind of impressive that he like basically came to the same equations Keyan drew on the whiteboard an hour earlier. So I could like read it again. Okay, that's it.
So it sounds like he did find it interesting. What does all this mean? What does this mean right here? Can you explain this?
Can I explain that? You can kind of imagine. Oh goodness.
There's alpha in there.
So this is vaguely similar to the PageRank algorithm that Google uses, and the best analogy for that is you're on a web page, and it has a bunch of links on it, and Google is basically saying, what's the probability you click on one of those links? And then when you land at the next page, it has a bunch of links on it, and then it's like, what's the probability you click on one of those links? And you just keep randomly walking the entire internet like that.
That's why they use web crawler.
Yeah, well, sorta. Well, they need to find out where all these links are, and then they assign it, and then so they have you walk over the internet like that several times, or many steps through many web pages, and then they basically if you have a link that you're more likely, after having gone randomly across the internet, you have a link that you're more likely to encounter as you go randomly across the internet. That is the link that will show up higher in search results. So they call it a random surfer. So you're randomly surfing the internet. If you're clicking without thinking, really, what web pages are you likely to land on? And those are the ones that they assume are less spammy because they have more links to them from other places on the internet. Because spam is really not going to have, like, people aren't going to be linking to spam. People are going to link to good stuff. And so that's the basic idea. And so that's what that math there is saying, is we basically do something similar where you kind of randomly walk across stackers, basically. Like what's the probability I'm going to like something that Gray Ruby zapped? What's the probability I'm going to like something that Simple Stacker zapped? That's kind of what this process is revealing.
It's interesting because, like, for me, I'm always very much like, man, I wish like artists and designers and musicians had like an algo for themselves, if that makes any sense. Because this is something that's verifiable. And when I think to like artists, I think like the only thing they have verifiable is just like how many hits they've had, or like what is the output and like how popular it is.
You mean like you talked to me a lot about how the podcast numbers are gamed. Do you mean stuff like that, or you can't rely on that?
No, I just mean like in art. I just mean like art, like when a good art is produced, and like how do you verify that that's good art, right? And the only way to really verify it is just how much it's revered. And for like people that are developers and stuff like this, it's like you can make like a perfect algorithm or a perfect like web of trust, and it doesn't necessarily need to be revered. It's just like, oh no, the math is there to prove that it is working. Am I making sense? Probably not.
Not a whole bunch, but I think there's some interesting ideas there, as usual, that we could talk about more. But Simple Stacker goes through and kind of explains the basics of it, and how it works and how we do it, which is pretty cool. No one had actually reviewed this code before.
Really?
Yeah.
No. The entire time?
The entire time I was the only one. I wrote the code probably I think 3 years ago, and it's had several revisions, obviously, but no, it's a very heady thing to consider.
You did. If I remember, you did a workshop at Plub Lab like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I did it on V1.
Yeah.
And then I did another presentation at TabConf on V2.
Yeah. Oh.
But this is like V3, I would say.
Oh, this is V3.
Yeah, this is like the latest version of it. And
Yeah.
people.
So who brought it to your attention, or was it just Simple Stacker that wanted to figure it out, I guess?
Simple Stacker is a professor of economy.
Oh.
And so they're very good at math, probably much better than I'll ever be at math. And they were curious, I think.
Oh,
and I asked them to review it or to give me feedback on it, because I'm not very good at these things, and he did. He gave quite a bit of feedback. He found like a flaw in it that was pretty easy to fix, and he's now thinking about how to better model. I think he calls it a behavioral model. Better model the result, like what I'm directionally trying to get at. He thinks we might be able to come up with something better.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Yeah, open source,
amazing.
dude.
Yeah, you always talk about that thing.
Yeah,
Turns out that's right.
it has its advantages.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you think they'll apply this in other places?
Do I think what?
Do you think people could apply this in other places?
Yeah, it's as I said, it's already applied in web search. I think there are people applying it on Noster. I know Franz Zapp has I think it's like Vertex is what he calls Vertex Lab, I think is what he calls it, and they're doing trying to do these kinds of things with DVMs. Broadly, Web of Trust is applied in social media contexts, like friends of friends. It's kind of I don't really think of this as that similar to that, but it's related. But yeah, I could see this being applied in many different areas.
Cool. EK has one more thing.
I forgot to mention this is easily one of the most impressive posts on Stacker.News. I think Simple Stacker literally learned how our ranking works in a few days. Well, I'm working on Stacker.News since almost 2 years, and I still feel sometimes like, have to ask Keyan.
But you haven't really tried to understand it.
Yeah,
You've mostly just asked me questions. If you spent the time looking at it, I'm not saying that you would maybe grok it as fast as Simple Stacker, but I suspect you'd grok it in a few days.
Yeah, like the session we had an hour before was very helpful.
Yeah.
So even more impressive how fast, he just did it all by himself. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Impressive.
Oh yeah, very impressive.
Keep doing. And he also gave us a lot of feedback. So that's also cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. This is not. Yeah. Very
Well, cool. Well, that was a really meaty